All right, guys, let's have some fun in this video. What level guitar player are you? So I'm going to give you 3 categories, loosely put together, but you're going to get the idea. I'm going to show you how you progress through these levels and how you connect stuff. So level 1, beginner. Level 2, developing player. Level 3, musical player. And tell us in the comments, how long have you been stuck in whatever level you identify with? So this is just a check down for all of us. So let's go right into it. So let's go here. Okay, so this is a chart. This has got a G major open chord. So we're going to do a G major open chord. We got to have some context, okay, to anchor this down. And we're also going to have an A minor open chord. And we're going to take away the G. So there we go. So beginner, level 1. Let's say you know this G major open chord. So you know how to strum it, some basic strumming. Look at me, Mom. I can play a G chord, okay? Great. And you recognize it when it's on a chart too, like you see here. Do you recognize that? All right. Now you go to the A minor chord, and we'll get rid of the G major chord. So now you also know how to play an A minor chord. You know how to strum it. Back to G. A minor, okay? So maybe the chart goes away. You're at your house, and you're just sitting there, and this is you, and you know how to play G, A minor, G, A minor. Maybe you got to look down at your hands when you're switching, okay? You got to go G, and your rhythm's a little choppy. It's not really smooth yet. And you look down. Is that you? It's okay. We've all been there, all right? So everything is basic strumming. Everything is the same volume. Everything rings, okay? Now, maybe you get a scale, right? You get a scale. In this case, we're going to keep it connected. So you learn this scale right here, and this is a G major pentatonic scale. We only removed 2 notes from the major scale. You probably don't even know that. All you know is this is a pattern, and you go like this. And it sounds very scaly. Okay, level 1, beginner. And maybe you have to look down at your hands, at your fingers when you're switching to the notes, and you maybe miss one, and you go, and you stop, and then you go. And then maybe you try and go back to the chord, but there's no connection there. You try to go to G, and someone's like, hey, you should try and play the chord and then go into the scale, and it sounds like this. And you go, it's time to change the scale, you kind of stop it, and then you kind of get tripped up, and you stop, and you regroup, and you kind of forget the scale. You got to look back at the chart. Listen, this is all part of the journey. This is part of putting in the reps. Guitar is probably one of the hardest instruments in the world to learn, in my opinion. All right, so you see that. And then maybe you're actually someone, your friend shows you, or you go a little deeper, and you see this scale, right? And this is a mode. You're like, what is a mode? It's just a mood of a major scale. It's just another G major scale, but starting on an A. So you try and run this pattern. Da, 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 da. And maybe you start learning like, oh, okay, so that's a scale. But then you have no idea, when you see this one, you have no idea how to connect them with rhythm, with flow. And you have no dynamics or no accents in your playing. You're filling everything up with too much space. You're just sounding scaly. You're going, and you're not even playing it that smoothly, okay? So that's kind of level 1. You learn some open chords. You get stuck in that for like a month. Your chords you got some basic strumming. Everything's ringing out at the same volume. You can understand a couple of these scales. You don't really know where they came from or how they're built. You just know these are some patterns I'm playing on the EAD strings. Maybe you don't even know that EAD is called a string set. See, these are all the things you got to burn in that brain. All right. So the point of this level is that the player knows some material, but they haven't connected it musically. So there's really no musicality there, and that's okay. So let's go into level 2. Okay, so here's level 2, developing player. Now, you can clearly see I have the G major chord and the A minor chord overlapping. So that's why the dots are kind of a hot mess right here. But if I pull it away, you're not even relying upon the charts anymore to know the chords, right? You just got this. So if we go to the full screen, you totally got G to A minor. Your rhythm's getting a little smoother, okay? Now, one of the most important things I did here is if you look, you start to understand that accents and muted strums are absolutely what's progressing you, and it's going to perk your ears up. You start understanding that this fleshy part of your hand on the bridge controls dynamics, and it creates you to play accents. It creates better rhythmic pockets. So you just sit there and you start to understand that those muted strings are probably one of the most important things. You start to understand the concept that muted strings is that this is a drum set, and that the muted strings are actually probably more important than the notes you play in the chords. So you start to do things like this with the open chords. You start to go. Clamp down with really good dynamics. Just a couple of ideas, okay? So you start to see how to accent things, right? You start to have some light bulb moments. You put a lot more dynamics in there. Then what you can do is you can go here. You don't even need to look for the open chords anymore, okay? You understand them, but now you're playing them with more dynamics, more rhythmic feel. You're starting to internalize the rhythm. Okay? Now the next level inside of level 2 developing player is, let's go back to that chart. You see the scales. You kind of clearly know now. You got these patterns down. Let's say you understand G major pentatonic. In fact, you know it so well, you could start to take some of your accents, your muted strings, your rhythms, and you can add them into a melodic piece. You start to add them into the scale, meaning like this. In fact, when you lose your way, you don't fall apart. You understand that muted strings are what's keep you on course. Because rhythm is king, you never stop. So you do stuff like this. You understand that's your way of regrouping. There are no mistakes in music when you learn how to do that. The beginner, to loop back to that, to have a contrast, they go like this. And they stop playing. The player that's starting to develop goes. They start to connect the open chords, the harmonic content, to the melodic content with flow. Not only that, they can take this other scale. Now they know this pattern. Now, they might fall apart when they're doing little riffs like that, but they're developing a deep sense of internal rhythm. So I'm trying to show you, this is the logical progression. Now, it's more broad than this, yes, but you got to drill down on some of these key concepts. So your open chords, you can actually even go from an open chord to a scale fragment that's a little further away, meaning I could go from this A minor open chord, and I could flow up here. Okay, now one more key thing. Let's go back to the harmonic part. So I'm going to add into this mix a bar chord. So this is an A minor bar chord. I'll pull this camera back a little bit. They understand how to use bar chords mixed in with their open chords and then their scale fragments. In fact, they don't have to see the other chart with the scales now. They've got it. Maybe they understand that, oh my gosh, because I have these scales, I can use these thing called octaves. And some of you guys caught it in my last video. What do I mean by that? Well, we'll just use the G major pentatonic. And they start thinking like how I'm talking right now. So here's what I mean. So instead of playing just single notes, they might hit some of the intervals that are already in the scale. They might hit the G and the B together. Then they use octaves. They'll have the B here, and they'll drop a B down here. And they understand if they just use the root, the B to the D, and then the G to the A, so they can start doing things like this. G to the bar chord. So you see what they're doing there. just to kind of recap this, because this doesn't have to be crazy long. You see how the beginner, they got the open chords, their strums are kind of all the same level, there's not much accenting, there's not much muting going on, because they're just worried about strumming patterns and getting all the notes to ring out. They have everything's the same volume, okay? They can't really connect anything musically. They can't connect the scale to the chord. And this is really hard. Don't get me wrong. Most players, this is why they quit and they give up, because they get bored with this. But I'm trying to show you, okay? Then when you go to that intermediate one, you start linking different flavors, open chords with bar chords, open chords. You can even do a G bar chord. And they kind of musically craft in melody. They even understand that I can start with the scale and then go into the chord like... Okay, they might even have a looper pedal. Now I'm going to let a G loop play. Okay, now if a beginner had to do this, they might sound like this. They might go. They're a little off time, right? Developing player might understand they can throw some rhythmic elements and accents. So you see what's going on there? They start to develop their ear on a deeper level too. And that's just, your ear will always be your number one asset. Always. Because your ear won't lie to you. That's why it's good to record your music too. All right, so like level 2, kind of wrap that up. This is where the player starts hearing the relationship between chords and scales, and they start using accents, muting, their rhythm skills really start to tighten up. They start to really internalize rhythm. So let's go into level 3 now. So this is what I call the musical player. So if you look right here, I'll try and make this a touch smaller. They see, let's go to this A minor bar chord. They start to understand things like, too, when you're a beginner, you think you have to get every note to sound out, da, 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 and that's not easy. The more advanced player or the developing player might have this light bulb moment, they start to understand it's all about the rhythmic accents of what you hit in the chord. They got really good internalized rhythm. So let me show you, their muting techniques are become very precise, much more advanced. So if you look at, I'm going to move this, the C right here, the green C, that's the minor third. They can take a full bar chord, they can go like this, and they can hit that one note without dropping the beat. So like... So they start to connect the whole thing. So that's just off of the bar chord. They start to understand how to accent little pieces of chords or scale fragments. So if we go back to this scale right here, they can have this whole thing on there and they clearly understand, oh, I'm just playing a G major pentatonic and a G major scale, which is second position, which is Dorian. And they understand that A Dorian is the second scale degree, and that's a minor flavor, right? They know where to guide that. They know how their ears starts getting keener. They know how to leave more space in there. Their scale fragments start to connect directly to what we call triads. Okay, now they start to understand things like what are triads, the Smolak harmonic units. So they understand GBD, this is one triad shape on a string set. And they know how to mix that in. Right? And they know how to blend it with everything. And then they understand, oh, here's the A minor triad. So if we get rid of this, now somebody who hasn't seen this, that might throw them off if they have both of them on there. But the more seasoned or musical player knows it's an A minor triad. Right? And then they understand the connection of all that. They understand that, oh, that's inside of the bar chord. And they don't even need to be shown the bar chord. So they go like this, bar chord 2 and triad, bar chord 2 and triad, bar chord 2 and triad. So it can put the G back on there. So A minor 2, A minor triad, A minor 2, A minor triad, G bar chord 2, G triad, scale fragment, So they start to push and pull with their rhythms. They sound human. They don't sound mechanical. So they understand, if we go back to the scale thing and then we'll wrap this up. We got the G major open chord. We got the A minor open chord. chord. We can even throw in, we didn't put it in this lesson, G major bar chord, A minor bar chord. They know how to blend those with the scales. Let's do it over a loop, okay? This is just a G chord, a static G chord, okay? So they know how to lock into that rhythm. They go A minor triad, G triad. Okay, and then if we just go full screen here, they understand how to connect all of this rhythmically without even looking at charts. So they're gonna blend all the elements. We got a G open chord, A minor open chord, we got a G triad, A minor triad, we got a G major pentatonic, we got a Dorian, or another G major scale from a different starting point. So then they link things together like this. Everything starts to sound much more musical, guys. So do you kind of see, we don't have to go too in depth with that. So like level 1, you're learning your open chords, right? You're strumming them. Your volume's the same. You're just trying to stay on the tracks. And I get that. That's part of the process. But then you start to learn how to clamp down. And then learn to... You don't just run scales and sound scaly. But don't worry, this is all part of the process. And then when you start to like really put it together with a higher level of musicality, you're entrenched in level 3, musical player. Now, I don't know if we call this beginner, intermediate, advanced. You could look at it like that. This is like something we could debate for hours on end. So at the end of the day, this is how I want you to think like a guitar player too. The thinking part is just as important as all of this. That's why I do the podcast. We got to talk about music. We got to take the technical part. We got to apply it to our instrument. We got to go deeper, but with smaller chunks. So let me know what you think of this new format. I got the looper pedal in here. Got to figure out this camera over here likes to overheat when it's run in like streaming mode. So, but whatever. We're having fun on here. Drop jellyfish or your favorite sea creature in the comments. Where are you watching from? Again, drop in the comments. What level do you think you are? How long have you been in that level? What do you need help with? I got you. We got you. Got amazing people around here. All right, only you can stop you. Don't stop. See you in the next video. Peace.